China's having a massive military parade that President Putin and Kim Jong will be attending. Do you interpret that as a challenge to the US? And are you concerned at all about those countries trying to be some sort of counterweight?
Not at all. China needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them. No, I don't see that at all, no. And I had actually a very good meeting with President Putin a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if anything comes out of it. If it doesn't, we'll take a different stance.
That's President Trump being asked about China's massive military parade. We're going to show you these pictures here. Beijing showing off its nuclear ballistic missiles, its weapons, and giant underwater drones, all while North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian leader Vladimir Putin look on. Putin and Kim meeting for more than 2 hours on the sidelines of the event. Kim telling Putin it's his country's duty to help Russia as Putin invites him to Moscow now. President Trump putting the world leaders on notice yesterday with the Truth Social post, writing this: "May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America," writes President Trump. Joining me now is Heritage Foundation Vice President of National Security and former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, Victoria Coates, back with me. Victoria, great to see you. What's your reaction to all of that?
Well, good morning, Maria. President Trump made another point in that Truth Social post, which is that the people of China would probably be speaking Japanese if it weren't for the United States intervening in World War II. And so, yes, that was a victory day for China, but it was even more a victory day for the United States. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And then finally, I just say, you know, the combined GDP of Russia and North Korea and China is not exactly dwarfing the United States. The United States at $30 billion is much greater than their about $20 billion. Toss in the UK and EU, which were both in the Oval Office 3 weeks ago with the president. That's over $50 billion. So I think that is the metric that I would take into consideration when judging that parade.
Well, it's a great point that you make. You know, you look at the economy of Russia, it's about the size of the economy of Texas. So, yeah, you're talking about apples and oranges when you look at the difference compared to America. But are you worried that you've got all of these adversaries sort of huddled, you know, whether it's, you know, Xi Jinping in China, Vladimir Putin in Russia, Kim Jong-un now. You've also got Iran leadership expected today to show up and, you know, adore that military parade. Does it bother you that you've got adversaries against America right now teaming up?
Well, as the president says, they're conspiring against us, and we need to keep an eye on them for sure. But, I mean, Iran is another just decaying economy. This doesn't add strength to China. It's another dependent on China, something that China needs to take care of and support. If you look at our partners and allies, and are they perfect? No, they're not. But they're doing extraordinary things. They're productive. You're looking at the EU. You're looking at the UK. You're looking at countries like Japan. You're looking at countries like Australia, like Israel. These are all great allies to the United States. They provide support to us, especially with President Trump's leadership, doing things like getting our NATO partners to cough up their proper percentage of GDP on defense. So I don't like it. It's not fun to watch, but at the same time, I think we can put up something much, much better.
Victoria, what did you make of this Russian effort to literally potentially assassinate Ursula von der Leyen the other day, using the disruption of an American space-based system? They jammed the GPS, and you know, the media is just ignoring this. Wasn't this a huge deal that Ursula von der Leyen's plane was hit by suspected Russian GPS interference?
Yeah, this was really disturbing, Maria, and I've seen other episodes of this. I've seen China do it to American planes. You know, it's a nasty little game where you are playing with people's lives, and it shows us the vulnerability of a lot of these systems, space-based systems, on which we are completely dependent at this point. So I think this is why, you know, figuring out what our security posture is for space is so very, very important. President Trump and the administration, I know, are very focused on that. But at the same time, we have to hold Russia accountable for almost downing the plane of the head of the EU. I mean, that's not a joke.
Exactly. I mean, President Trump's 50-day deadline for Russia to end the war on Ukraine expired on Monday. We still don't have a ceasefire. The president spoke yesterday on the consequences on Russia if no steps are taken toward peace soon. Watch this.
We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week, they lost 7,000, between the two countries, 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but, you know, they're soldiers. I want to see it end.
So, I mean, he wants to see it end, but he's treading carefully. Victoria, what's your take on where we are now? By the way, Russia reportedly hit Ukraine's fuel structure overnight.
Yes, and you know, this is kind of the diplomatic equivalent of a long, hard slog. The president's given Russia every opportunity to come to the table to strike a good deal for both countries. But what he's kept, you know, in his back pocket, literally, Maria, are the devastating economic sanctions that the United States can put on Russia, as we've discussed, on India, on China, and really lower the boom on them. Use that economic might we were just talking about to force Russia to the table. Ask Chairman Xi, how much economic pain are you willing to eat to keep Russia afloat? So I think he wisely did not use that tool earlier on in this month when he met with, or last month rather, when he met with President Putin. But that is something he retains.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of this at this point?
This economic question is a big one because Russia's already paid in not just 1 million lives, but they have, what, 10% inflation rate, 20% interest rates. They've been suffering for a long time. But I want to ask about the Indians because India, according to President Trump, for the first time ever, has offered to bring down tariffs to zero. They are running scared of that risk of secondary sanctions, and yet Modi shows up with Putin over the weekend. Should we take that as them just bluffing? Because I imagine that it would be devastating to that shadow economy, right?
Well, it would be. And, you know, this is what happens when you burn a war economy, as people have called it, hot for 3.5 years, and you run out of the kind of material that you need to feed your population to grow your economy properly. So that is what is happening to Russia, and they're running dangerously low on foreign currency reserves as well. But I think you really put your finger on it with India because, you know, Prime Minister Modi, yes, he was there and he met with Xi and Putin, but he's trying to get President Trump's attention. But at the same time, India knows its future is with the United States. If you look at the communique that Modi and Trump put out after their meeting in January, this is a roadmap for a really bright, wonderful future for India that will be a contributing partner to the United States. I think it's really great that they're offering to lower their tariffs. We should get to an even playing field with them, but at the same time, move forward as partners and allies.
All right, we will leave it there. Let's see if India gets it and does the right thing here because they're still buying Russian oil. And President Trump is watching that with that 50% tariff. Victoria, great to see you as always. We so appreciate your insights.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Victoria Coates. Stay with us. A big show ahead. We'll be right back.